And we're live. That's how I always start it. And we're live. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. I feel like it's been a while since we've done a webinar. You'll probably notice that I have someone new joining me today. So while we're waiting for everybody to roll in, why don't you guys tell us where you're watching from in the comments? Of course, I have to do my obligatory click like and subscribe and help me get bonus points from my boss. But again, I'm Courtney. I'm always here. I'm sure you guys already know who I am. But Jonathan, why don't you introduce yourself while people are rolling in?
Yeah, hello. My name's Jonathan Meyer. I'm one of the senior solutions engineers for HawkSearch, which was recently added to the Bridgeline family of products. And so Courtney has invited me here as part of my kind of maiden voyage of showing some HawkSearch functionality, and especially kind of how it relates to the SEO stuff. So,
For sure.
looking
I
forward to
like
having
the
that
senior,
conversation.
what is it? Senior
Senior
strategist?
solutions engineer.
Ooh, that is a fancy
It
title.
is,
Nice,
isn't it? It doesn't
nice.
mean much,
Yeah.
but it
Yeah.
it looks good on a
Well,
business card or an email
looks good
signature.
on LinkedIn, right?
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Oh, they're senior. Just means I've been
Senior,
around
yeah.
forever. That's more what it means than anything else. I'm an
Right.
old man.
Well, I apologize to everyone watching. My lighting is terrible today. I have just moved. We're in a new house. There's construction going on behind me, so it's a little bit, little bit. Oh, and we've got someone else watching from London as well. Hey, Aunt, welcome from London. But in London terms, like this is what I just learned. If you're in London, you could actually be like an hour and a half away from someone, even though it's the same city. And
It's
then we've got someone from Quebec. Hello from Quebec, Laurence. Not sure. Sorry if I butcher your name when I'm talking about you people. Okay, while people are rolling in, let's go ahead and just give you a brief intro of what we're going to be talking about today. I'm sure you can see just based on the million emails we sent you, but also based on the title on the YouTube. So we're going to be talking about SEO specifically for e-commerce. Like we talk about SEO all the time. We talk about SEO until we're blue in the face. But today we're going to be specifically talking about those e-commerce websites. Obviously, it's a different type of SEO because you're not just looking for people to necessarily sign up for a newsletter or read your content. Like you actually want people to put things in that shopping cart and then give you your credit card, right? Like you actually want them to make a very definitive transactional action. So it is really important that you show up in Google for those certain search terms and product terms that we're talking about. So what we're going to do today, just to give you a little outline of how we're going to frame this, I'm going to go ahead and talk to you about SEO and keyword research and how you can implement those keywords correctly. And then I'm going to toss it over to Jonathan. He's going to show you some really, really cool things that you can do for your e-commerce site with an SEO twist to it on HawkSearch. So I am going to share my screen. Hopefully, let me take that WooRank brand off of there so everybody can see it. All right, cool. So hopefully this looks familiar to everyone. This is the WooRank dashboard. What we're going to be using today, as an example, we're going to be using homedepot.com. One, that's my stepdad's favorite website and favorite store, but also I figured they wouldn't be watching little old me and not get mad at me for using them as an example. So here we are in the Home Depot WooRank project. This is where we can do a ton of optimization. Before we get into that, though, I want to talk to you about keywords for e-commerce. So specifically, e-commerce keywords should be more product-driven, more conversion-driven. So if you're to Google something like, how do I do a kitchen renovation? You're going to get much different answers than green kitchen cabinets, right? Like if you're in an e-commerce world, you want to be ranking for those people who are just about to buy, not people who are looking for new ideas and content and informational stuff around it. You want those people who are like, their wallet is sitting right next to their keyboard, right? So what I'm going to do today, I think really anybody can Google keyword research for SEO. So I wanted to show you some of my favorite ways to find some really cool new keywords specifically for e-commerce. Now we're going to start at Amazon.com. And I know for probably a lot of you e-commerce shop owners watching, this is probably one of your biggest competitors, but it doesn't mean that you can't utilize their knowledge for your benefit. So let's say, for instance, obviously, considering the construction around me, I've got home renovation on the mind. So that's what we're going to do today. So if I were to look for, let's say, for instance, I was looking for green kitchen cabinets. What else does, let me use my other computer. What else does Amazon show in relation to green kitchen cabinets? It showed a little bit more earlier. Let me maybe, for instance, take another. Let's do white farmhouse sink. This did show more earlier, but maybe because I am walking, talking Murphy's Law, it's not working for me today. Okay, hold on just 1 second. Bear with me, folks.
Could also be a
Right.
network issue with, your screen share offering video share.
Yeah.
There we go.
There we
See that?
go. That's what's supposed to happen. So if you put in your main keyword right here, like let's say, for instance, you sell white farmhouse sinks, but you're not ranking the way that you want to, it might be a good idea for you to look at a longer tail keyword. Long tail keywords are always easier to rank for because they're just more specific, right? So you might want to look at what else Amazon is suggesting. So they're actually suggesting a size, double bowl, protector, undermount. If these are things that you sell, then you certainly can add more information in that target keyword, and you might have a better chance of actually ranking for these things. Now, another one that I love is called Answer the Public. Answer the Public is such a cool tool. What you are actually going to be looking at here is what people are actually searching for. So if we search this, by any country that your target audience is in. So if I switch this to the United States, and I search for green kitchen cabinets, let's see if it works on this website, and then hit search, what it's going to show me is what people are actually asking in Google. So they're asking, where's a good place to buy kitchen cabinets? How to get green kitchen cabinets? Who sells green kitchen cabinets? So there's a lot of really cool queries, and then you can go down to these other, so without change color kitchen cabinets without painting. This might not necessarily be a product, but it is a cool way for you to incorporate some longer keywords, maybe into your product description. Like if you say, okay, green kitchen cabinets for sale, green kitchen cabinets with black countertops. If this is something you sell, you can actually elongate those little keywords. Just as an anecdote, I once had a client who was selling CBD oil, and he wanted to rank #1 in Google for the keyword sleep. And I said to him, listen, like that's literally never going to happen. Like even if you have the best website in the world, that is such a broad keyword. Usually when people search for sleep and just the word sleep, you're going to get a Wikipedia entry about sleep. You're going to get maybe mattress firm. You're not going to get some like little mom and pop shop that sells CBD oil. So you need to start thinking about things that are a little bit more specific, and then incorporate those more specific keyword phrases into your content. Now, my favorite, because I work here and I'm biased, is the WooRank keyword tool. Now, this is another really cool way for you to find longer versions of the keywords that you're looking for. Obviously, Home Depot doesn't have much of a problem with ranking, but if you're just like a small kind of construction company or remodeling company, you're just getting getting your business online, you might want to look at these different keywords. So what we show you is you can track any of your keywords here in the keyword tool. You type them in, and then we give you a bunch of information about it. We not only show you where you've chosen, but how many times per month this is being searched, what additional features are being shown in Google, because Google is not just a list of blue links anymore, right? There's lots of other stuff. Google, also a business, also wants us to stay on their website as long as possible. So they'll give you, people are also asking this, here are the images that you might want to look at, lots of other stuff. So WooRank will show you exactly what is showing up for those queries. And then your current ranking position. What we're also going to show you is your competitor's ranking position. It looks like I didn't choose the right one for them. It looks like Ace Hardware has a little SEO work to do. But what we can look at here, for instance, let's look at that example again of white farmhouse sink. Now, Home Depot is ranking #1 for this keyword in the United States. But we can actually see even more about this. We can see who else is ranking. So Amazon, again, always going to be that. Wayfair, Lowe's, Overstock. So when I look at my other keyword, the dashboard we were just on, I saw that who I thought was my competitor was not actually even a ranking. So maybe it's time for me to reevaluate who I actually see my competitors are. And it's not just for major businesses like Home Depot. Anybody can do this. Because if you're, a little pie shop in Oklahoma, your competitor is not necessarily going to be like Mrs. Fields Cookies. It's going to be someone who's a little bit more local to you, but you do have to do that research, and you do have to see who's ranking in your area for your target keywords, because it's not always going to be who you think it is. But I digress. Another really cool way to find new keywords with the WooRank tool is by looking at those extra features. So people also ask, do white farmhouse sinks stain or scratch? That's something that you can put as an FAQ on your product page. You can actually answer that question for people, and you have a second chance of ranking for that. We also can look at the related searches. So if you are not ranking #1 like Home Depot, you can look at just like we saw on Amazon, these kind of longer tail keywords, Google is already suggesting these keywords to people, right? And think about the way that you use Google. If I don't see what I'm looking for, I don't go like back to google.com and start from scratch. I kind of go down this like rabbit hole of related searches. People also ask images until I finally land on what it is that I was really looking for. So if you're using it like that, chances are your target audience is also using Google that way as well. Now, excuse me. Now, once we have decided on the keywords that we want to be using for our website, which really dictates kind of all of our SEO strategy, because every page should be optimized around certain keywords, right? So once we decide on that, it's a good idea to maybe go to Google Keyword Planner and then take a look at the competitiveness of certain keywords. So for instance, I put down here kitchen remodel. I can see that that is searched 90,000 times per month, or 90.5 thousand times per month, and that it is very high competition. What they mean by this is that people are bidding a lot of money to rank for this specific keyword. For a big website that has a lot of traffic, this is not intimidating. But if you're that pie shop in Oklahoma and you see that something is being searched 90,000 times per month and the competition is very high, you might want to think about going back into those other suggestions, finding some longer keywords and maybe something a little bit more specific that you can rank for rather than just blueberry pie, which might be, searched a lot more. I know I'm really blowing through here, guys. If you have any questions about anything I'm talking about so far, just shoot them in the comments. I can see them on my screen and we can take some live questions as we're talking. Now, the next part of my TED Talk is going to be about what you do once you have those keywords. So the first thing that you really want to make sure that you're doing is that your site architecture is as easily understandable as it can be, especially for an e-commerce. You never really want to be more than 2 clicks away from the homepage. Now look at how well the Home Depot achieves this. So if we're going back into that kitchen remodel, DIY projects, and then it expands. And then I can go to kitchen ideas and projects, and then boom, like it's just so easy for me to navigate to these different pages, to their different categories. So that's something that you really want to bear in mind when you're doing your site structure, is that it has to always be easy for your customers to get back to the homepage or to search for something else. You don't want them to go down that rabbit hole and not be able to find their way out. And that's something that I believe Jonathan will speak a little bit about as well, because HawkSearch for sure helps with that.
Definitely.
So I'll, divert back to my area of expertise, which is WooRank. Now, the Home Depot website, what we do at WooRank is we look for many on-page issues. And of course, you might be thinking like, oh, this is just so we rank in Google. Like, why do we care about Google? The things that we look at are not necessarily just catering to Google. Everything we look at has a dual purpose of, one, getting seen online and Google understanding your content, but also so that your users can have the best possible experience on your site, right? It's not really about like, oh, this robot at Google thinks that my content matches. No, you want your users to have a good experience. Could not be more important than with e-commerce customers, because they're actually giving you money. Like, they're not just reading an article. They're actually intending on spending their hard-earned money on one of your products. So if you make it frustrating for them, if you make something unreadable or the content is obviously spamming with keywords, then there's going to be a problem between you and your user. And some of that trust is going to be lost, which is, at the end of the day, the really important thing when you're talking about SEO. So what we do is we try to make it really easy for you to navigate here at WooRank. We try to make it very easy for you to understand exactly what needs to be improved. You can filter your review. You can filter it by the errors. And then you can also say, okay, I want to see what's going to make the biggest impact on my site right away. And wait a minute, I also want to see what's the easiest thing for me to do right now, because I've got a ton of other things on my plate. And then you can see your list gets really short. You've got just 3 things that you can take care of in the course of an afternoon that is going to help with not only Google understanding and ranking your content, but for people who are trying to find you easier and have a better experience with your site. This is all in the WooRank review. We also do, my little marketing hat on quickly, we do a free trial. So if you're not already in the WooRank family, just WooRank.com, sign up. We can take a look at your site, and I can even talk to you personally about certain issues that you might be having on your site. So don't worry about that. Now, the other thing that I wanted to show you guys, this is a brand new feature within the WooRank tool, is Da, 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 da. So
Trouble.
on our site crawl, we look at thousands of pages of your site. And we're going to look for any technical issue that might be hidden to the naked eye, but is still kind of detrimental to your online presence. And this new section down here, e-commerce.
It's like we had a plan for this.
Imagine that. So what we look for here is we look for anything that is using the schema.org, so structured data. Oh, we got some questions coming in. I will answer that in just a question, just 1 second. So what we're looking for is structured data, and structured data is a way for Google and other kind of search engines to understand your content as well as a human could. So if you're writing an FAQ page, you can flat out tell Google with this thing called schema, this is an FAQ, and then they understand that this is what you're doing on your page. A similar thing exists for e-commerce products. So you can actually say, this is a product, this is a product, this is a product. Obviously, on homedepot.com, they have quite a few products. So we're going to show you where those products are, the source page for them. And then we're also going to show you if there are any potential issues that might be impacting the way Google can understand and rank these certain products. Because if they don't understand it, then you're going to have a problem with ranking for certain things. So we give you all sorts of different, they're a little bit more technical, but we are here to help if you don't understand what we're trying to tell you here. This is just, especially if you have a ton of things to sell on your site, this specific feature of WooRank could not be more valuable for you, because we are going to tell you point blank, like, listen, it might look really good in Wix, but behind, if you lift the hood, it's not ideal what you're doing right there. And we also try to filter it by severity as well. So if we're just looking at the warnings, then we can just look at the warnings. Errors obviously should be fixed first, but if they are not, then it's something that you can just work through at your own pace. But if it's red, usually in the site crawl, that means like, okay, get to work. We need to fix this right away. Okay, so the third part of my TED Talk is going to be about just where you put these certain things. So once you have your keywords, once you understand how your site should be structured, once you understand how to identify those on-page issues, where is the most valuable place for those keywords? Now, I don't want to take so much more of Jonathan's time because I realize that I've been monologuing for a full 17 minutes. But what I will say is that we have a full article, a full really good piece of content about the most valuable places for your keywords in your overall SEO strategy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share that in the comments, and you guys can read that at your leisure. Essentially, just anywhere that Google is looking is a good place for them. But you don't want to be spammy with what we call in the industry keyword stuffing. If you are trying for white farmhouse sink, I don't think that should be showing up like 400 times on the same page. That's going to make you look pretty robotic. All right, so we do have a few comments that I just wanted to handle right now. So we've got a few people coming in from Canada. Nice to see Canada well represented. Oh, and my friend Matthew is here. Hello. So how do you think we should approach it when selling cars online? I think that really depends on the type of competition you have. Like, for instance, if you're, I don't know, like Ford, then you don't really have a whole lot of competition when you're looking at ranking for certain models. But if it's like a used car dealership, then there's a little bit more legwork you have to do. Exactly like I said before, looking at maybe I'm not really good with cars, but like what's a really good, like, what is it? Kelly's book, like Blue Book, Kelly Blue Book. What
Blue
is
Book,
it?
yeah, that's a
Blue
thing
Book.
we see a lot with like year, make, model being super important as well. Being able to
Yeah.
say, if I'm looking for a 2007 Ford Explorer, those are obviously key things you've been matching against. But imagine then in the SEO world, it could be features and functionalities on top of that. I'm looking for power windows, just to throw an idea out there when we're talking about longer tail searches.
Right. And I think also Answer the Public would be a pretty good resource for you, especially with that as well. So what did you say? 2000 what?
2007 Ford Explorer. It's my
Is that the
wife's
car that
car.
you have?
No, it's my wife's car. If
I
it's for
had a
whatever
Ford
reason my
Explorer.
go-to.
I had a Ford Explorer. Now that I'm in London, I have to learn how to drive on the other side of the road, which I'm like not looking forward to at all. Oh, I've hit the maximum number of free searches prepping for you guys today. I've done too many searches, but this is a really good feature for you. You can always also do the paid plan. But if you're going to throw your money at a marketing site, and you might want to look at WooRank or
Just shows that you did your research for this. That's what
Yes,
that shows me.
I was
You're
trying
well
to, yeah,
prepared.
they're mad at me because I was doing so many test searches. But that would be a really good feature for you to use and a good resource, because you could then see what people are searching for. Like, are 2007 Ford Explorers reliable? How hard is it to get parts for a 2007 Ford Explorer? And then you can do like, you know, lots of other things with that, like blog posts, FAQs, added into even user reviews. Like if you have people who are giving you user reviews, maybe ask them to say like, oh, can you just like tell me a little bit about how reliable this is, or ask them questions, communicate with them in the content. So I'm going to toss it over to you, Jonathan. I'm pretty much
Yeah.
done. I know that I went a mile a minute for that, but if anybody has any questions, I'm going to put the resource that I talked about, and then I'm also going to put my direct email address so we can chat a little bit more if you're interested. So Jonathan, take it away.
Excellent. And I should be sharing my screen here. You guys should now be seeing
Yep,
Berlin packaging.
got
So
it.
I think what might make sense, because when you're probably thinking SEO and you're thinking, oh, well, they're bringing on this search vendor. What does that even have to do with anything here? One of the things that we always try and talk about from the Hawk Search side here is that as a tool here, and one of the reasons why we think we fit in really well here is that we offer not just the search functionality, where here on someone like Berlin Packaging, who sells glass jars and containers and bottles and packaging and things like that, where I can search, hey, I'm looking for a glass jar, and we'll bring back in your kind of standard search functionality, site search, I should say. I should be a little bit more specific when we're having this conversation around SEO. Hawk Search as a site search tool, we would drive this functionality here of the autocomplete, the search results, and so on. But what we leverage from an SEO perspective, and one of the things that we can bring to the table there, and the ways that we can help with that, is that in addition to just kind of your standard, okay, I've done a search for glass jar, here are the search results, here's the facets and filters, we can also be tied into the category and navigation pages. So the actual structure of that site. So in this case here, if I was to go into, let's say let's say glass jars as the category here, make that selection from a navigation perspective, this is still then relying on Hawk Search to drive the results here. This has a couple of different benefits from a business perspective. There's a lot of kind of machine learning baked into Hawk Search in terms of understanding what are the results that are going to be returned, how should we rank those results, what are your visitors actually looking for out of these results, being able to merchandise these results as well, to say, on our glass bottles landing page, I want to make sure that this particular vendor or our price point, maybe we've got an overstock of inventory. So all that kind of merchandising functionality carries over from the search side to the category pages as well, like we're seeing here. And we're staying on a nice clean URL as well from the Hawk Search side, even though this is a search page. What's really happening behind the scenes is they're just, this URL then calls into Hawk Search and says, give me the results for that landing page. Basically, this is all of the products from that category that live in our index that say, here are all the products for that glass jar. Now, from an SEO perspective, so I want to make sure that you guys can understand that this is some of the functionality we can drive here, because again, that idea of we're a site search tool, what are we talking about SEO for? Typically, because again, as I'm sure Courtney would back me up on here, typically you don't want search results pages to be indexed. Those are generally a no-no, and by default, Hawk Search does not allow those to be indexed as well. So when we're talking about SEO functionality, we're really looking at it from this landing page perspective of how can we help improve your sitemap, your footprint in Google, using the information that Hawk Search already has access to. Because when we're looking at this page, well, obviously, Google can see that we have a glass jars page here, but we can also help build out the sitemap around what's the color. If I was to say I'm looking for blue, we're able to build out those breadcrumb functionalities here. We can see here on the site, I've made that selection for blue. So now we've built out color blue. We're also appending that to the URL up here at the top. Color family equals blue. Well, what we can do from the Hawk Search side is we can help build a sitemap that helps expose these different facet combinations, so that Google can be much more aware of the kinds of products and content that lives on this site. So that kind of preamble out of the way there, where you can understand kind of a live site example of what that actually looks like, what we're talking about when we're saying, landing pages, category pages, and the facets and filters. Let's actually jump into the behind the scenes there. We're just like WooRank there. We're big on kind of showing off the tool and kind of highlighting the ease of use of the tool and the kind of insights that you can get into it. So as an example, let's dive into that landing page creation. This can be done programmatically. We can say, hey, we know that this is a category in your data. We're going to go ahead and automatically create that landing page. But you do also have the ability to manually create one. What I'm going to go ahead and show you, though, let's actually go into and talk about a finished one here. Let's go into our landing pages section of the tool here. And you know what? We'll go ahead and search on a finished one so we can find that real quick here. So we're going to pull up our Columbia Sportswear landing page here. So you can see a couple of different things. What I'm going to do here from this administration page, I'm actually going to go ahead and open up the preview functionality so we can see what the finished result looks like. And I'm also going to click our little green edit icon here, which will take me into the administration screen. How do we build out this landing page? So let's give you the idea of what this finished product looks like from within the tool here. So I've gone over to my second tab here, which is showing the preview functionality within HawkSearch for that Columbia Sportswear landing page. Now, as a business user, this is going to give you a lot of kind of insight into additional functionality that's happening on this landing page. What are my facets and filters that are being presented here? We've got department. So this is expandable and collapsible. We've got our ratings being returned. Our price point, color is an option. We've got different merchandising banners being returned. Our results, as we talked about earlier, we're able to influence those using different machine learning and merchandising functionality. So I can see that our first 3 items here are pinned. Then we've got different boost rules. Again, really kind of visual aspect of understanding why my results are showing up the way they are, how this landing page is going to present. Obviously, this is within the tool itself, so your site visitors aren't seeing help bubbles on why this landing page is showing up. They're not seeing that this item is pinned to the top. That's all behind the scenes. This is information that you, as a business user working within HawkSearch, can see. But now that you got kind of an idea of what the finished product looks like within the tool here, let's actually show you how we built that out, because this gets into some of the SEO functionality. So there's your standard kind of general configuration. What's the name that you want to call that? Defining that URL that you'd call into HawkSearch for, building out the breadcrumb. You can set start dates and end dates even on these if you want to do, we're getting towards the holidays. I'm sure people are starting to look towards building out Black Friday pages, Cyber Monday pages. These can be things that can be set for even timed start dates and end dates. You're not having to, log in on Thanksgiving and kick off that merchandising page. That can just be ready to run in the background there. But you'll see that there is just an SEO section here as part of this landing page administration. So if I expand that out, you get your kind of core SEO functionality. What's the title of this page? What's the canonical URL? Meta descriptions, meta keywords. And if you want to, you can set these pages to be both in no index and no follow through a very simple toggle. So even at this point, kind of at the core level of the landing page creation, there is some SEO functionality baked into HawkSearch. What I want to kind of talk about then, though, from the perspective of how we showed you on that glass jars example, how we're building out those facets and we're able to index that information, there's one other thing to show you here on this back-end example before we move into a little bit more detail on that. So if we scroll through here on the landing page, of course, again, we want to make this very easy to use. There's lots of if this, then that logic in terms of, well, what are the items that should display? We showed you that example of glass jars. In the back end for Berlin, they have a very simple drop-down box that says the category is glass jars. In this example here, we're going one step further. We're doing a brand page. We're saying the brand is Columbia Sportswear, and these are all values that are being built out from the product catalog that you have. So if we're talking about cars, it could be what's the year, the make, the model, what's the trim level. If we're talking about jars, like we saw about earlier, it could be what's the material it's made out of, what's the capacity that it's made out of. When we're talking about clothing, it's the brand, the color, the material, all of those different kind of price points, ratings and reviews. In this example here, we're doing the brand is Columbia, and we're also using some sales data to say, is this on sale? Yes or no. That defines what products should show up on this page. Obviously, that is then also going to be the products that Google is looking at when they're crawling that page, understanding what lives on that. Tried to make that very straightforward and very easy for business users to build out these kind of category pages. To not even be just specifically, a category, but to do these kind of more promotional pages like we're seeing here. And of course, we want to make a nice visual preview of what those items are going to look like. You can see here the number of items that currently match that, get a nice preview of those items that meet those two conditions of brand is Columbia and on sale is yes. So just to give you a kind of idea of how we continue to build out that landing page. Really, the thing that I want to highlight here as it relates to SEO, though, and kind of what we offer from an SEO tooling is going to be this SEO influencer tool that helps build out a sitemap based around these landing pages. So you can create the landing pages like we're showing you here, have a lot of control over kind of just what should show up on those pages, that control over that core SEO functionality. But then when we get into the actual facet configuration, you can pick and choose what facets should be available here. So the reason that we saw in this landing page that we had department, rating, price, and color available is because we decided that that should be what should show up there. We were able to select from this drop-down list of all of our different facets and navigation options to say what should show up. So if I wanted to have on sale as a toggle as well, I can select that, click add. That then gets added to our facet display. I can even change its placement. Maybe I want on sale to be the very first thing that's available up here at the top. I can go ahead and do that very simply. The reason I wanted to show you this, though, is because the facets that are available on these pages then inform what the sitemap is going to be able to build out and include as part of its combinations there. So let's go ahead and show you what that functionality looks like here. So we've got the fast configuration defined. We've got our landing pages built out. What does that actually mean? Well, you'll notice over here on the left-hand side that we have another workbench option for SEO influencer. If we go into the SEO influencer section, this gives you an idea of kind of what we're doing behind the scenes to help build out that sitemap. You can control the schedule for that sitemap. How often is that happening? What day of the week is that happening? What time is that happening? You can even do that on demand as well. So if there's a change that's happened to your sitemap structure that you want to push out live immediately, you can do so very easily there. What I really want to highlight here is the facets followed by spiders, because you have the ability then to say what facets. So we built out those facets on that landing page. Well, what are the facets that are actually important? We obviously understand that Google has a budget for crawling your site. So we want to make sure that we're being smart and intelligent about the facets that we're using. You have the ability to pick and choose which facets you want to include. So let's say I wanted to include department as part of my sitemap. Again, just like we saw on the other page here, it's a drop-down box. Select that, click add. That gets added to our list here. Now, you might say that we have several different facets that you'd like to add. You can add as many as you'd like, but we also bake in some best practices in terms of how we're going to build out this sitemap, because there are some kind of core rules and logic that Google likes to follow that we can layer into the way that we build out this sitemap. One of the key things is going to be making sure that we're not duplicating content. So when we're building out that sitemap, we would say that we have, that brand page equals, we would do color, we would do color and brand, we would do color and department. We would never, and then I would say we'd also do brand and department, but we would never do color, brand, and department, because Google generally does not like to look at facet combinations of 3. They typically only like 2 facets. So color and brand would be 2 facets, brand and department would be 2 facets. But when we do color, brand, department, that's 3. That would not be included as part of the sitemap by default. The other thing that we would do is we also standardize that. Again, that duplication that we talked about. We would do color and brand, but not brand and color, because that's basically the same thing. It's just the order that was selected in. So when we're building out the sitemap, we only include one build out of that selection. So color, then brand, not brand, then color. You do have the ability to also change that if you would like to say, I would want brand to be first, just by dragging and dropping its placement. That then honors the way that informs the way that we build out the sitemap to say that brand should then be first, then color, and goes down in that kind of fashion from there. There's some other things that we do as part of the SEO influencer. We're able to include popular searches. So as Courtney was really intelligently highlighting there, that kind of, go to Amazon, see what those longer tail keyword searches are going to be that Amazon's tracking. We can do the same kind of thing here in the in Hawk Search, understanding those longer tail searches that we're seeing on your site search. So, someone's coming to your site, doing that white farm sink search, but also including 36 inches or the material that it's made out of. We can track those as searches. We can include those as part of the sitemap functionality, highlighting those as popular searches, so that to Google, they look like more kind of standard landing pages, but what's really being returned from the Hawk Search end is the kind of a search functionality there. There's, of course, advanced configuration. So all of those kind of things that we talked about from best practices, we do give you the ability to kind of break those rules, because every business is unique. And while Google might have best practices, that doesn't mean that they're set in stone. As I'm sure Courtney would agree with me there, it's one of those things where SEO is more of an art, not necessarily a science. There's lots of different things.
Oh, how true! How true it could be. I mean, sometimes the Google executives come in the dark of night onto Twitter and tell us that they've changed their entire algorithm, and then all of our jobs are at risk.
Everyone scrambles, right? Yes.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure that while we have some things baked into the tool, we're not saying it is set in stone. It shall never be changed. We understand that those Google executives can ride through in the middle of the night and change the way that all works. So we want to give that adaptability into the tool as well. So this is all well and good. We showed you, here's, why are we talking about site search on a SEO conversation? Well, it's because we can drive those landing pages and those kind of category pages, and we can help build out the facets and functionalities around those. We showed you kind of how easy that would be to do within the tool. That can be done both programmatically and then also from a workbench perspective. How can you administrate that? And then what are the functionality we're providing there of that SEO influencer, building out that sitemap? But we're also very keen on saying, proof is in the pudding when it comes to Hawk Search. What is the, we've talked a good game here, but what does that actually mean? So let's give you some examples here. I'm going to jump back out to Google. I've started with a fresh browser, cleared my history, cleared my cache. All that's removed here. If I was to say that I'm going to do a search for, let's say, some red satin. Getting ready for the holiday season, going to get my red satin dress put together. I might be looking for some fabric to build that out here. Yeah, hey, I'm fancy.
Yeah. Also, something that you can check, by the way, in what we showed before, Google Keyword Planner, you can see the seasonality of certain certain searches as well. Like obviously red satin or red velvet cupcakes or anything having to do with like red or green is going to typically spike
Courtney, you're
in
making me
certain months. So that
hungry.
is, yeah, right.
You're talking
So
about
that is
pies.
something. I know. I must be ready for dinner.
Sorry, I didn't mean to step over. You were saying the seasonality of those results,
No,
though.
no, no. It's I stepped over you really, but Google Keyword Planner, you are able to see those seasonal searches as well, so you can get an idea of when might be the best time to run like a campaign around something like that.
Excellent, excellent. Good information to know here. From the example that we wanted to show you, though, we were talking about how kind of well, HawkSearch has all this functionality. It's building out this sitemap. What does that actually mean at the end of the day? And while again, SEO is an art, not a science. If we continue to scroll through here, the very first natural result here. So we have all the other information that Courtney was highlighting. The Google Shopping ads, the image results. The people also ask. The first actual natural result here within the Google listing for that search for red satin is from a company called the Online Fabric Store. This is actually a HawkSearch client. And if we actually click into this link here, we're going to go to the onlinefabricstore.com/product group satin with that color facet being appended there of color equals red. We can actually see that as being appended here as part of the breadcrumb functionality. And obviously the results that we're looking at are honoring that selection as well. The H1 tag has been updated to say that we're looking at red satin. So again, this is part of that functionality. We were able to say that they have a product group satin category page. And then as part of that sitemap builder, they've included that they wanted color to be a part of that option. So when we're building out that sitemap, we know here is the product group satin landing page. Here are all the color values that are available to that. And then we're honoring those best practices. So just as an example here, if I was to make another selection to say I'm looking for green and red satin fabric, making that selection there, we're going to say we're looking for red and green satin fabric as part of our H1 tag. Our color selection now also updates that we're pulling back in the relevant products for that. But you'll notice that our facet selection here, even though that was the second option that was picked, red was already selected as we saw earlier. I made that selection for green secondary, but it is being returned as the first part of that URL because, again, that follows that process that we have of making sure that we're keeping those in order regardless of kind of how someone makes those selections or the order that they make those selections. So following those
I
best
just wanted
practices.
to let you know quickly that Clara from Online Fabric Store is here watching,
Hey,
actually.
Clara.
So Clara is here. Welcome, Clara. Here's
Glad you could join
your
us.
site being used as a very good example. It doesn't always happen that
Exactly.
way.
Online Fabric Store was one of those great clients that came to us and had a lot of feedback in terms of how we could help SEO. So they're definitely, I'm glad that they're there because they are one of the clients that helped us build out a lot of this functionality and make sure that we are meeting those goals from an SEO perspective. So glad you're here, Clara. But let's give you some other examples. We have lots of other clients that are actually performing very well with this sitemap functionality. Let me actually go back out here. We'll go back out to Google and we're going to do a couple other searches. Just again, we believe the proof is in the pudding, not to kind of beat that phrase into the ground, but when we have the good examples, we like to show them off here. So let's go ahead and do another search here. I'm going to say that I'm looking for some breast cancer awareness pins. This one is actually kind of fun because not breast cancer itself, obviously that's terrible, but the go ahead and say I'm looking for some breast cancer awareness pins. We're going to pull back in our results here. A couple of things that are happening. We're seeing orientaltrading.com is one of our clients as well, also using that functionality where we're seeing here they're the second natural result here within the Google search results. We go into those results here. Again, another HawkSearch powered landing page here. We're looking at their URL structure. Their URL structure is a little bit weird, but this is honestly, we're honoring their previous SEO functionality. So they had this whole kind of SEO history that they wanted to make sure that HawkSearch could layer into. And we're seeing here that we have this nice clean URL before that. The filters are being appended there at the end. You can see that active filter being selected here, pink ribbons, which is driving the results that we're seeing here. But if we actually go back into the results, we're actually also seeing, scroll a little bit further down, PinMart, which is another client. So we actually have two clients that are in this kind of space that are also using HawkSearch. Again, another HawkSearch powered landing page using that functionality to have that be indexed and crawled within Google. The thing about the example that we have with Oriental Trading is that we can show a couple of different examples here. So if I remove that active filter of pink ribbon, that obviously just takes us back to their decorative pins and buttons. So again, the idea of there is a core level landing page that then is being informed by those facets and filters that is being included in that sitemap. If we go a little bit further down here, let's say that I want to make a selection for a different occasion. I'm looking for birthday pins. Making that selection, we get to birthday pins and buttons. We have that active filter. Well, as you might guess, because I'm giving that as an example here, if we again go back out to Google and I say that I'm looking for birthday pins, we're going to go ahead and have Oriental Trading show up near the top again with those results here. fourth natural result here within Google. Again, if we go to that link, it is that same function that we just showed. So there's that core level page. The sitemap is understanding the different facets and filters that are available. As we're including those, that obviously changes what that page is and helps Google understand the content that's available on there. And obviously, in these examples here, we're showing high ranking results here. We're very proud of those results. But we believe it is a really powerful tool that our clients can leverage to help improve their kind of footprint within taking advantage of some really core functionality within HawkSearch, that we can drive these category pages and these landing pages, but then be also to have this added benefit of, well, we can help improve your footprint on Google and make sure that we're following some kind of best practices there. Now, I've been talking and monologuing for 20 straight minutes here, so I will. Yeah, it's contagious.
So listen, I have some questions for you already in the chat. So Murad, I'm sorry again if I butcher your name, I'm really sorry. Murad wants to know, so could we use HawkSearch to do A/B testing without affecting any engineering changes within our app?
So HawkSearch actually has some what we call visitor targeting. It's basically user segmentation. So we can do some A/B testing on our end. The only limitation that I do want to be clear about, because again, like you said, you put on that marketing hat, but you want to be honest here. We don't split the traffic. So we do need a third-party resource to be able to split that traffic, but there's lots of resources that are out there. Google provides one as well that I believe is mostly free to a degree. But we then take that signal and say, okay, this is the signal that's being sent into HawkSearch. This is the other signal. And we can drive entirely different experiences using that segmentation to say, we want to drive different merchandising, we want to drive different banners, different sets of results, different facets and filters that can then be tied into that. So yes, is the short answer.
All right. There was also a follow-up. So how do we use HawkSearch in conjunction with our own app?
So we are platform agnostic from the HawkSearch side. So it really kind of comes down to what platform you're on. Are you on Shopify? Are you on Magento? Are you on BigCommerce? Are you on really whatever platform you're on? Several of those, like Salesforce, we have connectors for that help streamline that process. If you are on like a homegrown platform, we do also have a full API that we can leverage to get integrated with. We've not run into a platform that we haven't been able to integrate with. And it really comes down to kind of what are you looking to get out of the tool, and what resources do you have available? Most of the time, though, we have a connector that plugs right into those and makes that fairly streamlined.
Okay. I don't see any more questions in the chat. I'm just going to dip into some of the pre-submitted questions that we got, just a fair few. So first one is going to be, I think I'll shoot this over to you, Jonathan. What is your favorite e-commerce CMS for folks who don't want to be too hands-on with their website?
Yeah, so we like I said before, we're kind of platform agnostic, so we work with a lot of them. I think one of the ones that we have had the most success with, and that our clients have really, we've gotten good feedback from our clients on, has been BigCommerce. They are, they're fairly straightforward to use, but they've got a lot of extensibility in the tool itself in terms of being able to they have an app store, obviously build out all of that functionality. We've had a lot of good success with that. We've heard good comments back from our team. But there's a lot of good players out there. It really comes down to, what are you looking to get out of that platform? Magento is obviously a big name in that space. Shopify obviously is a good place to get started. We've seen a lot of people kind of go with that initial Shopify essentials and then move into the pro platform. But if you're looking for my personal favorite, I would say BigCommerce.
Nice. I've only ever used Shopify. It's super easy. I haven't used BigCommerce, but if you are recommending it, that's a glowing recommendation.
There you go.
Another question that we got in, this is the last one I'll take before we say goodbye, because I know you guys all have stuff to do with the rest of your day. You don't want to listen to us all day. So another question was like, how do I find out if I have duplicate content? So I'm just going to put it on the screen. How do I find out about duplicate content? That's not spelled right. So what I showed you before with our site crawl is a really, really great way to find duplicate content. This is particularly a pretty serious issue with e-commerce sites, because if you think about like the filtering of certain products, for instance, if you're looking for like a men's red shirt, or like a men's shirt, and then you filter it down to red, and then you filter it down by the size, and then you filter it down to certain things, like all of that content is going to be the same. That's on the page. Like the product description is still going to be the same. And that can be fixed really, really easily, but you just need to know what pages you're fixing. And you can find that out in the site crawl. So the site crawl is going to crawl all of these different pages, is going to identify like, hey, this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one are all using the same title tags. This one, this one, this one, this one, all using the same meta description. And it could just be a filtering issue. Like someone filters the size medium and then it's the same content. Google doesn't necessarily weed those out. Like, they are pretty smart, but they're not going to be like, oh, wait a minute, this was just a mistake. A lot of this can be fixed with just a simple canonical tag, but all of that can be done within the WooRank tool. You can identify all of that stuff in the site crawl, which brings me to my last and final point. As I said before, you can sign up for WooRank. You can do a free trial. I would hope that all of you watching already have an account, because I harp on about this every single time. Yes, so sign up for WooRank, free trial. That's pretty self-explanatory. It's self-sign-up. You'll get some onboarding help. You'll get an email from me. So if you need help, then it's pretty self-sufficient there. But HawkSearch is a little bit different. We do need to identify your specific needs, because it's not just an out-of-the-box SaaS product like WooRank is. So what we have done is the landing page that we sent out about the WooRank and HawkSearch webinar registration, say that 5 times fast, we have now replaced the registration with a link to book a call to learn more about HawkSearch and to get your own free consultation to talk about your specific needs, what might happen. And I don't know, Jonathan, if you want to talk a little bit more about what you would speak about on that call.
The reason that we want to go down this path of having you reach out to us and getting a little bit more of a further conversation is the SEO functionality we've been talking about today is just a small sliver of kind of the full functionality that we offer. You know, obviously there is the search piece. We can talk about more about the landing pages. We only gestured towards some of the merchandising functionality. There's a whole, analysis to the terms that we're seeing searched on. There's a lot that the tool can do. So what we usually try and do for these kind of conversations is to get a little feel for, what are the things that you're looking to solve for? What's the industry that you're in? What's the pain points that you're running through? What can we help show you? What can we help solve for you? So instead of just doing a, hey, install the tool and fool around with it, we wanted to give you a little bit more of a guided experience. And plus, you'll get to listen to me ramble on more, which is always fun, right?
Great. Well, I will put that in the comments and into the description after we're done with the webinar, because you know me, if I'm trying to do 2 things at once, my entire computer is going to shut down. So what we're going to do is we're going to put it in the comments. We'll put it in the description, and we'll probably send a little roundup email to everyone who wasn't able to make it, just to rewatch this and also get a chance to sign up for a free consultation with a member of the HawkSearch team. If you have any questions about WooRank specifically, I did put my email in the comments. However, it's not that hard to remember. It's just Courtney@woorank.com. So if you have any questions about WooRank, feel free to shoot me a line. But Jonathan, thank you so much for your time.
Courtney,
thank you for coming on and chatting with me and letting me chat for so long.
Hey, no, it was great to be here. I appreciate the invite. I'm looking forward to doing more of these down the road. Of course,
yeah. Well, we're always the ones that get tapped for this sort of stuff. So I'm sure we'll be back very shortly.
Dynamic duo soon enough.
There we go. All right. Well, thank you everyone for watching. If you have any additional questions, you know where to find us. Thanks a lot, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.